I think that for all of us, we have to remember that life is going to be full of challenges. You know, you never know what the next day, the next hour, the next minute is going to present to you. So you have to always keep that in the forefront of your mind. Like, we would love for life to just be smooth and us not to have any issues, but that's not the case. I don't know anyone who has never had a challenge in their life. So when I received my diagnosis, I went through stages. I look at it almost like when you lose a person and you have stages of grief, and you have to go through, anger and bitterness and resentment and, depression and all of those things, which everyone should go through. It's a natural, healthy thing to do.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the special edition of the Career Education Learning Center podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Rivers. Today, we will be talking about resilience and how that role plays in our life. Now, my definition of resilient, the one that we're going to use today, is the ability to withstand adversity and bounce back from difficult life events. It is an honor and privilege to have Charmaine Turner on our show today as our guest. Charmaine is a certified life coach and wellness strategist and the owner of Exalting Wellness Coaching and Consulting. And you can see that in the background. She specializes in teaching business professionals and entrepreneurs like myself how to cultivate a lifestyle that protects their future, family, and finances by making their health and wellness a priority. Lastly, as a MS warrior, Charmaine is passionate about promoting disease prevention and slowing down disease progression. Her ultimate goal, ladies and gentlemen, is to improve the health outcomes of underserved communities. How are you doing today, Miss Charmaine? And thank you for coming on our show.
Yes, I'm wonderful. Thank you for the awesome introduction.
Well, it is well-deserved once we get to your story. Charmaine, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how resilience played a role in your life thus far?
I think resilience is key. So many people are like, I'm tired of being resilient. I don't want to hear about resilience anymore. But without resilience, we're not going to be able to move forward. So it's something that we need to embrace as a tool. Really, it's a tool that should go in your toolkit to help you to be successful, to help you to live a healthy life, and even for longevity. I always think about the movie Rocky, and I remember watching him get beat down, and I was just like, just stay down. Like, just stay down because he's killing you. But that is like the perfect picture of resilience. No matter what punch came next, he was getting back up, and in the end, he was the one that was successful. And so I think we all need to embrace resilience as a tool in our lives. I think it's important that we teach our children about resilience as well. So we need to just embrace it and not run from it.
Well, how has that played a role? As I stated earlier, you are an MS warrior, and I talked to you earlier in the podcast about when you received the news that you get an MS while in the military. And that's definitely an event. And that's why I use that definition that can spur one to how to use resilience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how did you use resilience in that situation there when you hear news of a health concern that, nobody's expected?
Well, I think that for all of us, we have to remember that life is going to be full of challenges. You never know what the next day, the next hour, the next minute is going to present to you. So you have to always keep that in the forefront of your mind. Like, we would love for life to just be smooth and us not to have any issues, but that's not the case. I don't know anyone who has never had a challenge in their life. So when I received my diagnosis, I went through stages. I look at it almost like when you lose a person and you have stages of grief. and you have to go through, anger and bitterness and resentment and, depression and all of those things, which everyone should go through. It's a natural, healthy thing to do. And so I went through those stages, but at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, it could be worse. The diagnosis could be way worse than what it was. I remembered I still have a purpose here. I still have a purpose in my life. It might be time for me to hang up my uniform and my boots, but I still have purpose. And so those are the things that I held on to. Of course, I had a family. So
yes,
when you have, even if you don't have children, somebody cares for you. It might be friends. It might be your mom, dad, whomever. Someone cares about you. Someone loves you. And so that's where you focus on the blessings that you have and have an attitude of gratitude, so to speak, where it's like, okay, God has blessed me with these children. I have, at the time, he was my fiance, and, I'm somebody's sister and someone's daughter. And so I tapped into those things, and they helped to keep me afloat until I was able to pull myself out of the mire and the muck of the diagnosis and the depression and those hard things that I had to navigate.
And so you're talking about children. I mean, that is a big concern there when you come with those news that, especially a health condition, right?
Yes.
For my own resilient episode, and I knew we were going to do this podcast, it always reflects back to my mother. Mm-hmm. When my father died, he left 4 boys, 16, 14, 11, and 2. I was 11-year-old. And so I did not know at that time, at 11-year-old, how much resilience would play with my mom in her life. Because you got to raise 4 boys in your own that you thought, like you said before, life happens. You thought that you would have this man beside you raising him, and he was a major breadwinner. This isn't heavy the way he was a major breadwinner, but most being worried about those days. And so for my mom to raise us the way she did, and to come out the way I come out and the person I am, is incredible. So she showed very much resilience in that. And so you're talking about children. How does that resilience reflect on our children, that when we're saying resilience and they see that life is not easy, right? They see that mom and dad or whoever their guardian or guardianship is, that they taking care of them, that they go through ups and downs. How is it important for our children to also see that instead of trying to shield them from everything?
Yes. First of all, shout out to mom, because she did an excellent job. And I can't imagine, especially in the 70s, going through that. So shout out to her. It is our responsibility to equip our children. A lot of times I think parents forget that. Just like you said, we try to shield them from the hard times. We try to make things easy. We want to give them all the things that we didn't have, but you're not realizing you're not equipping them to be successful in life when you do that. And so I literally posted about this earlier today. I took my cape off. That's what the title of the post was, because up until I got my diagnosis, again, I was a single mom of 3. I was doing all of the things, like I was active duty in the military. I was a full-time college student pursuing a master's degree. My kids, they missed nothing. They did not skip a beat. So they played all the sports and all the extracurricular activities, all of those kind of things. I volunteered. I brought my laptop home from work. I did everything. I did it all on my own. And sometimes we, in our society, kind of hype up that independent woman thing, which is great to a certain degree. We all need to remember that we're not meant to do life alone. So you can be single, but you still need to have support. You still need to have someone that you can lean on, someone that you can, a shoulder to cry on. A friend to call and lift you up and say, no, ma'am, we're going to go out and we're going to get you out of this funk. We need those things, And so when I got my diagnosis, I had to, for the first time in a long time, say, I need help. And that was hard for me. It was hard to say it. And my fiance he saw it on me one day and was like, come here. He hugged me. And when he hugged me, I just cried because I was like, I finally have this safe space. And we all need a safe space, And so he was like, you're not going to do this alone. I'm here with you. You don't have to be strong, all of those things. He gave me permission to feel and to be vulnerable. And we all need to have that. And so once we had that conversation, I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop trying to be super to my children. And I let them in. And so we sat down and we had conversation about what multiple sclerosis is, what the symptoms are, what the possibilities are in the future, and what they might not be, because initially when I got my diagnosis, I was so set on career and will I be in a wheelchair? Because all I kept thinking is being in a wheelchair and being a single parent to 3, I could not imagine that because a lot of responsibility would have felt on them. And so we talked about everything. I let them get their fears out. I answered all their questions. And that was like the first major event in my life where they were old enough to see, because when I had gotten divorced before, they were young. So they don't remember that, they didn't remember those challenges. So this was the first event where they were old enough. I had a 16 and a 13 and a 4. And so, they were able to take it all in. So they saw and still do see my hard days. They know when they come downstairs and it's 11 o'clock and my door is closed and my light is off, Mom might be having a hard day, So they get to see things. I don't hide it. They see if I stumble. They see if I'm having issues with mobility, all of those kind of things. So I don't hide it because they need to know life can be hard.
Yes.
I don't want to protect you from everything. Even when I want to call and say, don't do it, I'm quiet.
Yes.
I close my mouth and I'm like, no. My oldest son is 26. He lives on his own, and I see him making some choices that I'm like, but he has to learn. He has to learn on his own. And we're here. We're right here to help him. So he knows that he's not alone. And I also feel like I raised a responsible, mature young man. And so I have full faith in him that even in those challenges and maybe not the wisest decisions, he will still pull through. So we have to teach our kids that they have to stumble. Don't rush to grab them all the time. The fall isn't going to kill them. They're okay. Let them fall off the bike, let them get that credit card and max it out. Those things so that they can learn themselves. That experience is the best teacher. Experience is the best teacher. And so as long as you're close enough and maybe not physically close enough, but just a phone call away, and they know that they can come to you when they are in a jam, that's all they need. That's all they need.
Did you also have, and that's great, a support system. So I'm getting from what you said, a support system is critical, key in resilience, not only for your immediate family and for your loved one, whether it's a spouse or whether it's a fiance or boyfriend, girlfriend, or a close friend. You need that support. What about community support? Did you also have maybe church support, your brothers and sisters, sibling support? How important is that support also outside the immediate family?
It is very important. I definitely had a church. At the time I was in Ohio. So we had our church there, that spiritual connection, the community connection, the peer support, all of those things are important, most definitely. The one thing that I will say, and it's for everyone, remember that your strong friends still need help, because when you are the one that wears the cape, so many times people think, oh, she's fine, he's fine. Well, I'm not fine. Because I have depended on myself so much, I have a hard time asking for help. So I always put that out there too, because sometimes just opening the door, just like I said, a hug was all I needed. Okay, I trust him. I can open up. I wasn't asking him for help, but he was in tune with me. So he was able to see, okay, something's not quite right. So we have to make sure that as much as we need support, that we offer support. And it can just be a text message. Hey, I know you're going through some things, just wanted to see how you were doing. And that will open up the door to, sharing that information and you being able to be true support to someone else. The church was helpful for me because I'm going to pray about it. If I do nothing else, I'm going to pray about it. My brother was in another state. My mother was in another state. And so really at the time, my fiance was my primary source. One of the other things that when it comes to people dealing with a diagnosis, sometimes you look for support groups and they can be good and bad. Sometimes you find the right one. And then other times it can be overwhelming. It can be depressing because you have people that are worse off than you. So you have to find your space. You have to find a place that, okay, this is a good fit for me. Don't feel obligated, but really find your place. So check out a couple of different support groups, or maybe Facebook groups or whatever. See if you have a local resource, but definitely tap into support because you can't do it alone.
Yeah, and I think that's in every aspect of our life, to be honest, and how this relates to the Career Education Learning Center is that people want to go get their certification, people want to go back their degree, or people want to get certain licenses, and even then, you need support. Believe me, whether it's through the military, when I went to the military, I needed support just going to basic training. When I was in school, going to community college, I need support here, living on my own, being in an apartment by myself for the first time. I had a lot of outside support as well as my mom's support during that time. Then when I transferred to a 4-year school, that was another different support system I had. I was very blessed, Charmaine, that I had relatives I didn't even know that I had in that area that supported me so much. And so I think a support system is very key and very needed because you can't do it by yourself. You was not been here to do it by yourself. That's why relationships are important. Not only relationship as far as loved ones, but you need relationships with friends and family and church groups and other groups that may nurture you and be there for you. Because sometimes your family can't be there because, like you said, you was in another state, right? Mm-hmm. And you have family all over the place, about like me growing up. And so that support system is really important. And how it's important for us also to be a support. Us to support people, as you stated earlier, that although we're not really strong one in our friends or our environment of friends, to support that strong one at times because everybody needs somebody.
Yes, absolutely. I know when I look back at my life, just like you said, it's in every aspect of life from, being a child, and my mom was a single parent. So my father wasn't there. So her friends became like family to us, and so looking at that and then just going through the different ranges of age and different challenges that we faced, with the moving and, like I said, in 12 years, I went to 10 different schools. And so yes.
Never heard that one before. Oh my goodness.
It's crazy when you think about it, but the military did afford us a community. We were like family, like every base we went to, there was a youth center. So I might've been the new girl, but I could go to the youth center and I had other kids that were military kids who they understood what I have, what I was going through. And so everywhere we went, we found a community because you really cannot do it alone. And it's funny that I grew up that way. And then, of course, I chose the military. That was my safety net. That's it, And then even starting in the coaching world, again, I had to find my tribe, as you say.
Yes.
You have to find those people who understand other entrepreneurs, other coaches. It might be other moms, whatever it might be. And I also have to say for the men, you have to get support too, because so many times I feel like men get left out. Like you're supposed to just be strong and the breadwinner, the head of the household and all of those things. Well, men need support too. So it might be going to Buffalo Wild Wings once a week with your guys or playing pool or whatever it might be. You need the support as well.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because I would not be dismissed by my men's prayer conference call that we have every Friday, and how much that platform means so much to us as men, to let our guard down, to go through what men go through and know that other men are going through the same thing you are going through, and it helps. It's a great support. So I want to give a shout out to the Park Ministries and our men's conference call every Friday. And you need to join organizations, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? As a man, join some men organizations where, or like you said before, meet some men and go once a month somewhere, whether it's to a Wild Wing or whether it's to Chili's or whatever you want to do, or meet at someone's house. I think, to be honest with you, there's a neighbor live about 2-3 blocks, and every like Friday or Saturday, I see a bunch of men there. They're playing games and doing stuff together. So that's the way they come together and get some little releases out to where, because we all have it, right? If you live life, as they say in church, you will experience life.
Yes.
Life, you will experience life. And that's what we're trying to do today is say, hey, get the help, get the support. You're not the only one going through this. And that resilience you're going to have through life no matter what you do. and also to pass that on to our children so they can see the way we handle these situations and challenges. Not handle it the wrong way.
Right.
Right. And if we do make mistakes, because we are human beings, we make mistakes, then tell them the right way to handle it. Hey, I did not handle this correctly. Okay. This is a better way of handling the situation here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's tremendous. Like when it comes to, I look at my upbringing, it just seemed like my parents and grandparents, they didn't want to share their dirt. They didn't want to talk about their mistakes, the choices that they made. And I saw that at a very young age. And I vowed that when I had children, they're going to know. My children know all my bad choices. Like we talked about everything because I want them to know you can truly come to me with anything without judgment. I'm here. And we have to equip them to deal with those challenging times. Just like you said, you don't want to go and pour a drink. You know what I'm saying? You want to have a healthy way to cope with whatever is going on. Mm-hmm. And you want to be able to take from that experience and find something good. Don't look at it like a failure. Look at it as an experience. Okay, I learned such, this and this from going through this hard time. So it's not just a negative thing that you're looking back at, and I think that's important. As someone who had her first child, I was 9 days shy of 20 when I had my oldest son. And so when I had my boys, especially, I was like, no, we're talking about all of this, we're talking about it. And so I would tell them, I don't care how fine she is, like you have to make sure that you're responsible. And so we talked about those things, and it didn't matter if they were uncomfortable. They knew I could go talk to my mom. And so I feel like that's important as parents. We have to be more transparent. Stop trying to hide it and make it look like you've never done any wrong. Talk about it. Talk about when you got drunk. Talk about all of those things. Your children need to hear that. Also, with the different challenges that our young people are facing, like mental health issues are tremendous when it comes to our young people, suicide rates, all of that kind of stuff. We as parents and adults, we have to be in tune. We have to key in. We have to focus on our children and our grandchildren, possibly. You have to be there. Don't just say, oh, they're in the room playing the video game. No, knock on the door, go in, talk to them, learn how to play the video game with them. Like, if you've never done that, I promise your kid's mind will be blown. Like, you want to know, you want to play it? Yes, show me how to play. So making ourselves available to them so that you can have that time. You need that quality time because that window, it's small. It's just a small window of time. And then they're out of the house and then you're not as available as you would have been, when they were home. So we have to make sure that we make that time for them because they need us.
Yeah, and they do. When they do. And as I told my son, I would tell you some things, but some things I'm taking to the grave. I am taking some things to the grave, Miss Charmaine. Now, I will tell you some things, but other things I won't tell you, okay? Then I told my son, well, why didn't you tell me that before? It didn't come up. I can't remember everything. When that situation comes up, I'll relate it to you. But some things later, I want to take to the grave. But I think it is a different society. I think we're in a totally different way than when I grew up and when you grew up. It's totally different. Social bullying is a big problem here. Suicide rates has gone up in every facet, every race, every gender, everything. You got all these pressures on top of all this technology that can just shame you. We didn't have that.
Right.
This thing is to get out there. So peer pressure today, I will almost say is 100 times worse than when we was growing up because of social media. And so I think it's also a good conversation, like you said before, to have with our children and young people. Mm-hmm. I really want you on our show today talking about this because young people, whether in high school, college, or just being young adults under 30, they need to have this conversation. College or the military, you come out and you think that you're going to get this great job, going to have all this money, you're going to be this and that, and it doesn't happen. And then depression set in, And I can say that from first experience, and I thought like most people, I will come out, be on all your magazines, making a lot of money, the American quote dream, and then it comes true. And what you have to do is be resilient when it doesn't come true, and then do it and rechange or reassess your values and what I'm going to go after. Okay, if I want to be this, then I got to make goals and steps to get there. It's not easy just graduating. Some company going to hire me, pay me $100,000 a year. I'm going to have a nice car, nice apartment, and all this stuff. Then I get married, and it's going to be perfect. We're going to have 2 kids. It's going to be all A's. My spouse will always be agreeable with me.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to grow up, get old, get grandchildren, and live happy ever after. That happen. That is not life. So
yeah, absolutely. My oldest son went through several of those stages that you just spoke on. They're checking the boxes. They're doing what us as parents tell them you need to do. And then you come out into this world where everyone is struggling to find a job, and you're applying for jobs that you're way overqualified for, just so many different things. I know my son has applied for so many jobs. He's trying to get a civil service position. And I told him, babe, without having veterans preference, it's going to be rough. And he's realizing it. He's like, Mom, what is the problem? And I could just see that defeat, the look of defeat on his face. And so I will be uplifting for him and help him. We go through, okay, let's practice the interview. Let me ask you some questions. Like, again, as parents, grandparents, just adults that are contributing to our youth, we have to help them with those things. That's why it's so important to have different kinds of trainings for our young people, so they know everything from how to dress, what the resume should read, how to do the interview, how to follow up. No, you're not sitting and waiting. You're calling and saying, hey, I just want to follow up. We have to teach them those things. And so as adults, we have to hold on to that because we're done with it, but they're coming up and we don't want them to feel defeated. We don't want them to have the internal struggles that come with that, feeling like I did everything and I'm still not getting a chance. Mm-hmm. That can be overwhelming.
And I think the thing that we talked about earlier is using outside help. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And that's everyone. I think that's kind of like the bad side of America, in that we keep teaching that we as an individual should be able to do it all. And if you're male, it's even 10 times more, right? I don't need help. I don't need assistance. And you do need help. You do need assistance. And so sometimes you need to go outside the family in those support groups that can help you. Go to your local community college and say, maybe take an extra course and this and that. Go to some of your organizations that help out with resumes and with interviews. Go to staffing services that may can give you a contract, temporary job for a while until you can get on your feet and get a real job that you say that you won't. That happens. I contracted out when I came out of college. So whatever it takes for you to accomplish your goal, you go through those steps and don't be afraid for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, do you have any parting words for our audience as we end this podcast today? Because this has been a wonderful podcast. I have learned so much, Charmaine. It's unbelievable. And hopefully I will take the tools and the resources and stuff that you said to me and my audience, and we will apply those nuggets that you gave us today.
Yes. I would specifically to our young people. I know that's our primary audience. Just remembering that you have to find out how strong you really are a lot of times before life changes. And when I say how strong you are, so many times our parents have kind of protected us from everything. They've shielded us, from those challenges. And when you start overcoming things on your own, then it's like, wait a minute, I am strong. Wait a minute, I can do this. And that's really an important kind of a place where you pivot and you change once you have accomplished some things. But in those accomplishments, really celebrate all of them. So like graduating high school and graduating college or getting an A in a class, don't focus on the big. It doesn't have to be some big dramatic thing. Celebrate all of those steps because those are still big accomplishments that you are achieving. So hold on to those things. Remember that you have purpose. Life is going to throw you curveballs. Period. That's just life. It's not going to be smooth sailing all the time. There will be seasons where everything is smooth, and then other times it's just like one bad thing right after the other. That is how life works. So learn from those experiences and keep going forward. Like I said, with Rocky, and they might be too young. Maybe they didn't watch that. Was it Creed? I think Creed is the newer one. So look at those fights and just see they They took punches and punches and punches, and they were bloodied and weak and all of those things. But they found that inner strength. So resilience will help you build that inner strength. So no matter what comes your way, I know how to handle it. I know I have purpose. I know I need to seek support. I know spiritual wellness and connection is important. I know I need to reach out to my parents. I know I need to stay positive. So hold on to all of those things so you can strengthen the inner you, your resilience, because you're going to need it. In this life, you're going to need resilience. And I know you have big goals and I know you have dreams. And in order to reach those things, you have to be resilient. So that's what I will leave them with.
But thank you so much for that. That is really, if I wish I had someone like you when I was growing up, where were you then? Oh, maybe you weren't born yet. Okay.
I was in diapers.
I'm not that old, Charmaine. But how can people get in touch with you, Charmaine, if they want to know about your business and what you do?
Yes, you can reach me on all social media platforms at Exalting Wellness, or my website is exaltingwellness.com. I'm very easy to reach, so all things Exalting Wellness leads to me.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our show today.
It's been a pleasure always.
And I'd like to thank our viewers and listeners for joining me on this special edition of the Career Education Learning Center podcast, where we're making your career dreams a reality. God bless.